Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Gay with God podcast, a safe place for us to share our stories and support one another. How long did we know? What challenges did we face? Did we lose our faith? When did we find our way back home? Or are we still searching? The stories you hear on this podcast will melt your heart and strengthen your belief that in God, all things are possible, and you can be authentically gay with the God of your understanding. I am your host, Midge Noble, and I am very honored that you are here. Hey everybody, it's Midge, the host of the Gay with God podcast, and I'm back this week with a guest, and you know that that's really cool for you and for me. And so today, let me introduce you to J.V. Jackson. Jay is a senior licensed Reiki master teacher, mentor, widowed gay man, former ICU and hospice nurse, and founder of Illumin Reiki Academy. His work centers on Reiki as a gentle path of healing, belonging, spiritual reclamation, and returning to the sacred self. Through Reiki teaching and mentorship, Jay helps sensitive spiritual seekers and practitioners develop confidence, intuition, and grounded healing presence. His message speaks to those navigating grief, identity, spiritual disconnection, life transition, and the desire to serve from a place of authenticity rather than performance. Welcome, Jay, to the Gay with God house.
So much.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm very excited that you asked to come on because when I read the story that you told me, you know, as far as like what you were planning to talk about in your life, and I thought that is just so perfect because many people take lots of different paths. We start in different places, we take different paths, and we wind up in different places. And it's so
And thank
relevant.
goodness.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
I certainly didn't want to do the circle and come right back to where I was. Yes, thank God. But I'm interested in your story particularly because I've heard of other people who've had a similar uh, kind of background with church as you did. And I'm very interested in how you then reclaimed your life after all of that. So I'm all primed and ready. Tell us your story.
Oh gosh. So one of the questions that we always get asked is, "What is your coming out story?"
Right.
And my response is, "Which time?"
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Because aren't we always in a state of coming out
Yes.
continually? So yes, I've had many different coming out and many different levels. And that's part of my story.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was fortunate that I grew up in Eastern Oregon, East Central Oregon, way up in the middle of the Blue Mountains. My dad worked for the Forest Service. The largest town had less than 2,000 people in it. Really nothing larger within a 3-hour drive in any direction. And we got to go play in the National Forest anytime we wanted to. My dad knew all the areas. And I had a great family life. I was really fortunate that my parents were just really great people. My community, though, was a little judgmental. And obviously, for those of us who are gay, that's not necessarily a kind place to be. Especially I'm 63, so you do the math. That time period was not the greatest, but
No.
we had a very robust church life. So I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint, which is also known as Mormons. And my parents were very active in the church. That was our life centered around our church activities and our friends within the church. And I developed a great relationship with God and had a great love for my vocation in the church. I served a mission for the church as a missionary. And when I came of age, I served in Albuquerque, New Mexico, part of El Paso, Texas, and southern part of Colorado. But because I was gay, that was awkward. I knew I was gay. I knew I was gay from the time I was probably 3 years old.
Oh my goodness.
So I recognized, I can remember playing in the front room of our house. And I was pretending that I was a woman, and I was at a bank, and the
Oh,
bank was being robbed, and I was shot,
oh,
and I dropped to the floor, and I was dead. And so then I was laying there pretending, or thinking, what would it feel like to be dead? So
mm.
in my 3-year-old mind, I was
Oh
thinking,
my
what
goodness.
would it be like to be dead? And then I said, well, why am I pretending to be a woman being dead? That's my next question. So that was my first awareness. Something
Wow.
is a little bit different here. And um, but so as life went on, after my mission, you know, I wanted to be a good Mormon person. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
continue that path, and
Mm-hmm.
being gay was not part of that
Mm-mm.
recipe. Um, part of being out. When I was in middle school, I was sick for a week with strep throat, and I came back, and the next Monday I came back, all of a sudden I was gay Jay.
Oh wow.
Boom, everyone's
Mm.
called me gay Jay, and all of a sudden it was like I had some incurable disease that no one could
Oh.
even sit 3 desks around me in any place.
Oh.
And so I navigated that, but I had church life, so I had friends,
Mm-hmm.
family in church. And later on, when in my mid-teens, um, then I was confronted by my Mormon bishop,
Mm.
our church leader, congregational leader, confronting me on the fact that people are calling me gay.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so then he insisted that I tell my parents.
Oh.
And so, like, yeah, my parents knew. I mean, at some level, they had to have known.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I can remember I couldn't do it on my own. And so he forced the meeting
Mm.
between me and my parents.
Mm.
And I can remember I literally came this close to actually passing out. I felt the room just,
Oh. Oh.
um, and that put a strain on my family. Put a strain
Mm-hmm.
on, because they were thinking, what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't ones that are going to ostracize me. No,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like that. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you do with that information? And then the bishop, bless his heart, he wanted to cure me, and he was gave me lessons on how to sit without crossing my legs, and and I had to read the Gettysburg Address in a manly voice.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
so he was trying.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
Mm-hmm.
I give him grace that he was trying, and so so life went on. So after my mission, then I married. I met a wonderful person, wonderful lady, and we got married. I was in California, um, living in the same community as one of my older brothers, and met this girl from Utah. We got married in the temple in Logan, Utah, and after about a year of living there, then we moved to Utah to be closer to her family. And I had family in Utah as well. My sister was there, and extended family was there. And we had 3 children. I came out to her about 3 years into the marriage, and we were married for a total of 18.
Wow.
So she was with me for 15 years after
So
she knew.
so when you got married after the Gettysburg Address and the sitting the sitting lessons and your
Yeah.
family going, "Phew, okay, now he's married. Maybe we're all okay." Um,
And we didn't talk about it, yeah.
you just didn't talk about it. So
No,
so
just
you're
didn't talk about it.
because I know I have another friend who is was Mormon. She's a recovering Mormon, and it got really, really ugly for her in the church and her family, and there was decisions about whether or not she could see her family if she continued to be gay, that they would, I don't know, is excommunicate the right
Hmm.
word? Or,
Yeah,
uh-huh. So your family didn't have to go through that part because you just kind of,
because I wasn't sexually active
uh,
at that time, outside of
uh-huh.
my marriage.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was that's was the big thing.
Okay.
Um, but living with being gay
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that that part of you does not resonate with the church that you believe in,
Yeah.
is tough. And
Yeah.
yet there were still parts of me that needed to have the recognition of myself and to be who I was,
Right.
and the opportunity to be in an embrace with a man. I mean, that's essential need,
Yeah.
I think. And so it just, I became extremely depressed. And there was a time that I was really finding myself suicidal. Suicide was but I had my 3 kids, and so the one thought I had is, okay, what if I committed suicide? Am I giving my kids permission to follow my path if I did that? Or my youngest daughter already at a very, very young age had severe mental issues. And so that weighed on my mind. So it was going to be gay dad or dead dad. Those were my 2 options. And I was doing everything I could to balance things. I had gone to therapy. I was a leader in an organization called Evergreen International. It was actually the incorporating president of that organization, was helping gay men and women to become straight
Yeah.
and live the church values. And I was very involved with church leaders at some of the highest levels, the LDS social services, etc. And so part of my conversation is that after I was really, really struggling was, okay, I've been doing this. I've been doing everything you've asked me to do for all this time. Guess what? I'm still gay.
Yeah. Have you noticed? God, have you
Yeah.
noticed? Are you paying
And and
attention?
and I just sent this a prayer cry out and saying, why won't you change me?
Oh.
And I got a message back that said, well, I can change you, but I don't want to change you. I would have to remove the most beautiful gifts I have given you in order to change you. And I don't want to do that. I want you to have those gifts. And so then that kind of gave me the realization that God was perfectly fine with who I was. He created me the way I was. He didn't want me to deny that expression. It still was hard to make the transition because I was still really ingrained within my religious belief system. Fortunately, I had been studying and learning about Reiki at the time, which was can be a spiritual path for some people. And so that kind of kept me going and helped to transverse. And so then I finally, after 18 years of marriage, then I told my wife, now ex-wife, that no, I had to leave. I just couldn't continue doing this. And that was so difficult. She marched me off to a psychiatrist. It was actually our youngest daughter's psychiatrist. And he was wise enough, and she was ready for him to fix me. And he was wise enough, I can remember, because she's, man, we're going to fix this problem. And he was wise enough, I remember saying, okay, let me talk to Jay alone.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And so I said, okay. And so unless you can come up with a pill that just automatically make me magically, what else am I going to do? And he understood that. And it really angered her that he didn't have she didn't have his support in
I'm
me
I'm glad that
staying.
it was a psychiatrist that wasn't going to just do what the church would expect.
Yeah, he
With
was professional.
he was professional. And was he also in the Mormon church? Or
Yes, yeah.
see, I really appreciate that about him, because for him to stay in a professional place and not allow the church's beliefs to take over, I mean, that's a big thing, really.
It is, yeah. But he was professional. He knew
Yeah.
that this was just going to cause more problems. He
Uh-huh.
knew,
Yeah.
and thank goodness. And so I really appreciate that. So I left, and it was then really traumatic for my kids at that time, because they had, and they were in, their mid-teens down, and so that really kind of blindsided them. Of course, my ex-wife was very angry at the time, and so a lot of that played into it. So I just had to be really, really patient with my kids. My son didn't really want to have much to do with me at that time. So it just took some time to be patient and just to continue to loving them, and not just realizing that they were dealing with issues. My ex-wife demanded that they go to therapy, but she wouldn't go to therapy herself.
Uh-oh.
And I kind of thought, oh my gosh, of all people, she's the one
Yeah.
who deserves to go to therapy and
Yeah.
needs help, and it would help the kids if she did. But she didn't. That was her choice. And just within a year or two, then I did find another gentleman that I ended up meeting and getting together. And we had a lot of the same values. So we were not club people. We were not, we didn't drink alcohol, didn't smoke, any of those types of things. He was a minister of music for big mega churches in the South, primarily. He had been a minister of music in Canada, had performed on the Trinity Broadcast Network for one period of time. That was his whole life. He was in ministry from the time he was,
Wow.
maybe 10 years old. You might say he was a kind of a prodigy as far as playing the piano and singing. But then he was outed within his own community
Oh.
and ostracized. And he had been married to his wife for 20 years, and he was leading worship in a community gay-themed church in one of the local communities in Utah. And but then after we got together, now the church had evidence to excommunicate me.
Ah.
So then I had to go through that process, and I started into that process. And I can remember having to meet with the bishop, and he prayed for the victims. Didn't pray for me. He prayed for the victims. It's like, okay, like I am some pedophile or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to
Yes,
say,
my
who are
kid.
the victims? Like
Who are the
your
victims? Yeah,
wife and your
my
kids?
wife and my kids. Yeah, they
Wow.
are victims, but so am I.
Yeah.
Of the situation. I can remember then I had to go to the, you might say, district leadership, which is they call it a stake. And I had been in stake leadership. I knew the whole gamut, and I can remember trying to meet with them, and I would sit there and wait and wait and wait and wait, and my nerves and stuff just gnawing on me. It's anxiety, and all these people were coming in for their temple recommends, and to be able to go to the temple, and I ended up leaving because it had been a half hour past that time, and someone was trying to chase me down in the parking lot, and by that time my nerves were so frazzled I couldn't even. And so then the state presidency comes to the door later that evening. There again, they had their best intention, but I was already just crushed, and so my spouse at the time was not kind when they came to the door. So I ended up being excommunicated, and that was very difficult. So, I lost all my church family, and I lost all my ex-wife's family. And I was very close to all my ex-wife's family. She was the oldest of 7 kids. She had tons of aunts and uncles and cousins that I was all close to. So that was a huge transition. But I still had Reiki, and it still allowed me to have my divine connection. So many people that I've worked with within the gay community, a lot of the times when a church rejects them, they reject God, unfortunately, because of the pain. And I was really, really glad that I didn't blame God for what a
Mm.
church did to me.
Mm.
And so my perception started changing, and my perceptions of the church started changing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so that was, you know, part of that story. And then later on, um, um, I was actually working a corporate job for Verizon Wireless at the time, got laid off, and
Mm.
as soon as I got laid off, I went to nursing school,
Yeah.
became a nurse, and then found out that I could be who I was. I didn't have to hide. I didn't have to be somebody I wasn't, and we weren't that far off, but I could still be authentic. And being authentic then kind of empowers us
Mm-hmm.
within our own spiritual selves and just how we act in life. And I made, you know, had great coworkers that I worked with in Utah. And then we later moved to Las Vegas. Wages were better for nurses there. Housing was cheaper, and so we were there for a number of years and worked most primarily intensive care units. And I'm a workaholic, so I would work hospice on the on the side. And I really, I'm a B personality. I'm self-proclaimed B personality, which is a little unusual for the intensive care unit
Mm.
because you want A personality people in an ICU who,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
can get right to it.
Yeah.
But I was a B personality, and so a lot of the times I would be the one who had those crucial conversations with family.
Mm.
So, okay, your mom's not doing so well. What would she like to do if things get worse?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do we do aggressive care, or do we, you know,
Mm-hmm.
go more palliative, go hospice route?
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to be there for many, many people's transition as they passed
Mm.
away. And I
Mm-hmm.
was able to feel those angelic realms for those people. It was absolutely beautiful to be able
Mm-hmm.
to witness that. I got so much joy out of bearing witness for other people's grief
Mm-hmm.
and tears because it was, to me, it was such a beautiful thing because
Mm-hmm.
these were expressions of love for this person who was passing away.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it was through Reiki that I was able to also see the divine in everybody.
Mm.
And that really became a gift. I would have a difficult patient. I would go into their room to try to intervene with what's going on. And I'd walk in there and I'd sometimes be upset and angry a little bit and go into the room, and all of a sudden then that divine spark in that person would be there.
Aw.
Then I would see and feel how much the divine loved that person
Mm.
and that God's love was for them. And then I treated them very differently then, because
Yeah.
then I could treat with the compassion and love, and then I could listen. Because a lot of the problems that we have is that we forget to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to listen more intently. I also had an experience once where one of our patients was a prisoner from a state prison.
Mm.
I don't know what crime he committed.
Mm-hmm.
He was only in his late 30s, early 40s. He wasn't my patient, but I was next door, and so we're always keeping an eye on things with each other because we have multiple pumps of medications go that if it runs out, you know, it's catastrophic. Um, but he didn't have one prison guard in his room. He had two prison guards in his
Oh.
room. His legs were shackled to the bed.
Mm.
His hands were shackled to the bed. His waist was shackled to the bed.
Wow.
He was intubated and sedated in a coma and actively dying.
Mm.
Family wasn't even allowed to come see him because of his prison status.
Oh my goodness.
I can remember going into that room to reset a pump, add some more volume to it, or change out one of the meds, and felt that divine spark for that person,
Mm.
regardless of whatever crimes they had committed. And I
Right.
thought, wow, that's amazing that the grace of God is that powerful, that He loves this person that in that depth. Maybe there is some hope for me. What are the thoughts?
Let-
Maybe there
Let's,
is some hope.
but you know,
There's some-
that's a very interesting point because in this climate that we're in today, you know, we see people as good or evil, and you know, we forget that we all receive the breath of life and that there is a lot of things that we can cover up in ourselves. And that spark is sometimes one of them. That we make decisions, we go down a path that's very, you know, ugly. And that doesn't mean that the spark is not still lit. We've just successfully covered it up. Um,
Well, and so, now it kind of goes back a little bit to many different religions, not just the Mormon
mm-hmm,
religion.
mm-hmm,
Many of us want to portray ourselves as pious, as holy, as perfect. And that's a mask. And we learn to
mm-hmm,
put those masks on because I want to be portrayed as I'm a good little Mormon person, or I'm a good little Catholic girl.
mm-hmm,
Well, guess what? We're human.
mm-hmm.
And God loves us whether we're perfect or not, and probably more so because of our imperfections. And and so we're not doing ourselves any favors by hiding that, and by so we need to recognize that the divine loves me no matter what my issues are, no matter what my
Mm-hmm.
problems are, my bad habits, or whatever the case may be. And by hiding it, then I'm not being authentic. I'm not
Right.
showing myself. I'm not showing myself to
Mm-hmm.
others. Because I can remember seeing people who were less than perfect, who were not afraid to show that they were less than perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I admired them
Mm-hmm.
so greatly because, man, that takes a lot of courage to show I'm not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's an important
Mm-hmm.
aspect.
Well, and I think that, for you with Reiki, you may be more tuned in, to see that spark. Um, but I do believe that all of us can remember and to have some intuition about that whatever someone's presenting to us, there's still that spark in there. That doesn't mean they get a pass
No,
for
we
their
don't
ugly
pass the
behavior.
behavior. We
No,
don't pass the
no.
behavior, but I can still recognize the divine in
Yes.
them.
Yes.
And I think
Yeah.
we all of us can have that as a gift. We just have to
Mm-hmm.
be able to be perceptive to it and be willing to perceive it.
Mm-hmm.
To love our enemies, man. To in that, that's one of the things that we need to do. Love our enemies, which means we need to recognize the divine spark in those people,
Mm-hmm.
and to realize I have a divine spark within me. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people, especially those of us in our community, who don't think they're worthy of that spark.
Right.
And it is just a crying shame because most of us are born with the natural, beautiful gift of being more sensitive to the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And to be denied to thinking that we're not worthy of that
Mm-hmm.
spark
Mm-hmm.
is tragic. Some
Yeah.
of the most beautiful Christ-like people I've ever met are members of our community, the gay lesbian
Mm-hmm.
community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to see a transgender person come into church and to be
Mm-hmm.
authentic,
Mm-hmm.
um, to me that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And for them to keep their faith, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of what the world has treated them
Mm-hmm.
as, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. I heard a priest say that one time that, you know, that the people who are coming to church often take it for granted because they were never told they couldn't. And for
Right.
us, we were told we were an abomination and that, you have to change in order to stay in your church. You have to, become this and not be authentic. And so for gay people to reclaim their faith, I always said that I felt like my church stole my faith. Which I know is not necessarily true, but it felt like it was stolen because they took it away. I felt like I had it, and then they took it away and said, "No, gay people cannot, enter the kingdom of heaven. You're damned already, and you're an abomination." And so, walking away from church for a lot of us was a way to become more authentic and to get rid of that tug and pull. But those of us who were able to come back and reclaim that faith, and I said one time that, and it had always stuck that, it's the God of my understanding. I now have to not look at the God that you said he was, or she was, or they
Right.
were. It's the God of my understanding because I have to believe, and I do believe that I'm loved and gay. and the church will, some churches are getting into that, but there are many that still don't. And your church and probably my church would never come around to that. So, uh,
And so part of it too, though, is a lot of religions become are abusers.
yes.
And so in essence, I was being abused for how
Mm-hmm.
many years by
Mm-hmm.
making the life choices that I made because of the messaging that they were telling me.
Yeah.
And so that's why the blessing of being excommunicated for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I was no longer being abused.
Yeah.
I was separated from that. I was able to separate that, and then I was able to determine for myself what is it that's really truly important for me. Now, I have gay friends who still attend their community churches
Bless them.
and are still in the cycles of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see it as healthy personally.
Mm-mm.
They
Mm-mm.
may still get some benefit of being there, but their membership within their community, well, you can't sing in the choir, or you can't do this, or
Yep.
you can't do that.
Yep.
To me, that's an abuse, and to me, it's really, really tragic and sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My So my husband, when we moved to Las Vegas, found the Community Lutheran Church within Las Vegas, and it was a community that was expressly open, which was a little bit unusual for a lot of the Lutheran
Mm-hmm.
communities. But this particular church, the minister's son had been gay and had gone in, and that he married his son and his partner
Aw.
in the church. Our minister of music had been a former Broadway star and was openly gay. The organist was, incredible, just an incredible talent. And what was cool for me, and I obviously didn't get to go very often because I was working
Yeah.
as a nurse most of the time. But when I did go, I always felt totally welcome. No one, no one cared if you were gay, and so to be an integrated church like that, to me, that
Mm-hmm.
was just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
To see families with their kids, and they weren't worried whether some gay person was going to be there in church with them. No,
Mm-hmm.
they were welcoming, and so I really, really loved that, and I was happy that my husband was able to find that community. He
Yeah.
didn't fare as well being coming out of his church experience. He was
Mm.
still injured and could never get past the injury from being ostracized from his church
Mm.
community, and
Mm.
so that was really was really heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
But at least he had that community, and to me that was just a perfect blend of people, and so I have a lot of honor and respect for that community.
Yeah. So when you were excommunicated, what did your parents do at that point?
Um, I didn't tell them.
Mm.
I had to stop and think. Yeah, I didn't mention the excommunication to whatsoever. So at the time when I left my ex-wife, she said, "Oh, he's got some dark evil that's come over him." And my older sister, who is just the salt of the earth, just a beautiful, beautiful being, very, very Mormon, came to visit with me. And I can remember going to a park and just sitting and chatting and talking with her. And she had a conversation with my ex-wife.
Mm.
And she said, "You're not possessed. You're not, there's nothing evil in you." And she could see it because she recognized. So I had that beauty. So
Good.
the Mormon Church are meticulous record keepers.
Mm.
Meticulous. And um, so they have, at the end of the year, they have what they call tithing settlement, where you go in and you make sure that you paid your tithes for the entire year,
Oh.
and they review your records and things like that. Well, my mom was reviewing her records, and I was no longer listed as one of her children.
Oh.
So
And the
that's
church did that?
because I had been excommunicated. So
Oh
I
my
was
God.
no longer. So I was no longer on the records.
Um, and then how did she question that?
So she just said, "Well, I kind of figured, you know,
Oh,
yeah." So there
because they
was,
knew before, so she figured that was what happened.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I mean,
Wow.
they knew I was with, with my partner,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, so that was kind of how they found out about the excommunication.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
My relationship now with my kids is drastically changed. The
Oh, good.
patience, the
Mm-hmm.
patience um, was important. My son, who was probably the most aloof from me during that process, I had a vivid dream about him. And this is after I'd lost my job at Verizon and was going into nursing. And in my dream, just coincidentally, we were working in the same hospital in my dream.
Mm.
So that was kind of interesting. And I just finished a CNA program because most of the nursing programs required you to be a CNA in order
Mm-hmm.
um, to be getting into their program. So I called him up. I told him a little bit about the dream and just offered for him to go to that CNA program because he was struggling at that moment as to what to do. And I I still have inspiration for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I could still have that. And so he went to the CNA program, loved it, and there were two different times that we worked in the same hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
that's
just a
so
real,
cool.
real, really cool thing. So, and then now our relationship is, we have a great relationship, close relationship with him, his wife, and his two kids.
Aw.
And my oldest daughter, who really really struggled. Her husband was much older than her, and he has three children from a previous marriage, and whose ex-wife has a lot of mental health issues, and so she had left the family and really wasn't the best mother to
Mm.
these three kids. Well, the oldest son is gay and had a partner and has a partner. The middle son is severely autistic, and then the youngest daughter, at the time when her teenager, she really wasn't sure which gender she was at that time, and she told me, she goes, "Dad, if I hadn't gone through what I went through with you when you came out to us, I don't think I could have been the mother I am to these kids."
Aw.
And that just warmed my heart. So she's kind of a part of what they call the Mama Dragons.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, so she really really supported that way. And my younger daughter and I both, we have a great relationship as well now. So it's been really great. And then I still have a good relationship with my husband's daughters. He had one daughter. He passed away 4 years ago,
Oh.
and he was a severe diabetic and was wanting to be released from this life. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were able to do that with hospice.
Okay.
And I can remember on the with him passing, had been a hospice nurse. I knew what everything to watch for. He was
Yeah.
on tons of pain medication, and I knew the signs. Okay, when I go to bed tonight, when I wake up, he'll be gone because I recognized
Mm-hmm.
all the signs he'd be gone. So I
Mm-hmm.
took 2 Advil PM, got ready for bed. I could not go to sleep for anything. I was
Uh,
wide awake.
oh my
You would
goodness.
have thought I'd taken, a caffeine supplement or something
Mm-hmm.
like. And so I was just tidying up or something in the other room, and then all of a sudden, this bright flash of light comes right up in front of me, just, and I heard this voice, "I'm out of here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you," and
Oh,
he was gone.
wow.
He was just gone, just like that. So it was important for the divine to know that I recognized his release and that it was a joyous occasion.
Yeah.
And yeah, and of course then he was gone at that time.
My
And so
goodness.
it was, to me, it was such a beautiful blessing to be able to hold
Yeah.
witness to that,
Oh, yeah.
and to have that. So I wasn't doubting, and
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
he let you know.
he let me know,
Well
and
done.
I was just, and it just, so that just really thrilled me that I was able to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So, so after COVID, through COVID, I'd worked myself into a frenzy. I had worked myself
Mm.
completely crazy. I was doing less teaching of the Reiki because I loved teaching Reiki. And what's cool about Reiki is that it doesn't matter what religion that you're part of. It allows you to have a spiritual background and still be part of whatever religious community that you wanted to be in. But so I missed teaching, and I knew that was partly more of my calling than even though nursing was a beautiful calling. It
Mm-hmm.
also played into my workaholism, which wasn't always healthy.
Right.
So, um, so then, shortly after he passed away, then I was at a retreat for Reiki, and one of my great Reiki buddies that was there, she said, "Jay, I'm going to Ecuador. Would you like to go with me?" I said, "Well, sure, yeah." And she said, "Well, I'm thinking about moving there." I said, "What?" I said, "Tell me more." She said, "I'm the only one that said, tell me more. Everyone else said, 'Are you crazy?'" And so that was in September. My husband passed away in May. This was in September. And we were originally planning our trip in the next January. And I called her up and I said, "We got to go sooner." And so we ended up going in November. And I had researched this community. And we came together and we had a blast coming and visiting the community and seeing the beautiful people that are here.
Mm-hmm.
I found a property that I just fell in love with in the area of town. And so by January, then I had was making purchase of the property. And in March or April, then I came back to Ecuador on my own to arrange for the start of the construction
Mm.
of my house here. And then it was April. I know it must have been March. That's right, March. And then April, then my friend moved up into a condo. And so then in November, then I moved into my new house and was here for a short period of time. And then I went back to work some nursing jobs for about a year and a year and a couple months. And then, so finally in September, I came back and moved back permanently. And so now I just get to do Reiki from the house and have a beautiful, beautiful quality of life here.
It sounds awesome. It sounds awesome. So, what would you think about coming back to the Gay with God podcast and focusing more on Reiki and teaching us more about it in depth? Because as
Oh, I'd
we're
love to.
as
Yeah.
we're closing down on this hour, I don't want to shortchange how special Reiki is, and I want people to understand what it is, because some folks have a little bit of knowledge, some people have a lot of knowledge, and some people have no knowledge. And so I would love for you to be able to give us a more beefier example of what you do and how you do it, and how people that don't live in Ecuador can benefit from your Reiki.
Exactly. No, when the beautiful thing is Zoom,
Yeah,
this platform. I mean, so I'm in Ecuador right now, and so I teach all my classes via Zoom.
that is
I schedule,
awesome.
yeah. So I teach classes in all 4 time zones because I have the time and space to do it, and I can
Hmm.
focus just on it. But there are also a lot of different misconceptions
Hmm.
with Reiki, and so I love to share my perspective of what Reiki is and
Yeah.
how it can empower us.
Hmm.
Because that was really the biggest thing for me was being able to see how it improved my faith,
Mm.
how I was able to have a spiritual a continuity in my life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it deepened that spiritual aspect really, really deepened in my life. Whatever I
Hmm.
had before then it just increased it, and my awareness became so much more. So I came from that narrow focus of what Mormon saw,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to now see a much more expanded view, and then I could say, oh, okay, our current Pope, Catholic Pope, I really like a lot of the teachings that he
Mm-hmm.
has. He has some beautiful, beautiful teachings, and I love and respect him about that.
Mm-hmm.
One of my students here, just from this last month, who's a devout Catholic person, talking with her and saying what, and she's going, yes, I'm enjoying going to Mass much more now than I did before. And then I've had people who've had severe religious injury, trauma
Mm-hmm.
from their
Mm-hmm.
religions, that are able to return to a spiritual path. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes find a church, sometimes just enjoy their spiritual path.
That's beautiful.
So,
Yes, I definitely want you back, and I want I want to talk more about that because I have a friend who does Reiki, and I have had Reiki done, a couple of times, and it has always been very healing for me. And so I would love for this format to be available for you to talk more about that.
oh, I'd love to. Yeah,
Yay.
yeah, these are, and these are important topics to discuss about
Mm-hmm.
within our community. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to give up our faith. We don't have to give up
No.
God just because,
Yeah.
no.
Well, now my church would say all that's woo woo.
It's true. And many of them do.
Yeah,
And
many of them
guess
do.
what? And Jesus was woo woo.
Yes, he was.
Jesus was as woo woo as
I
you
mean,
get.
you're healing demons and calling out stuff. Reiki's not that aggressive, really.
Not that aggressive, right?
And you don't even have to actually touch the person, and you don't have to be in Ecuador, and
Exactly.
it's
So
a
it's,
wonderful thing, wonderful thing. Well, I'll tell you, you and I will talk after we close today, and we'll set something up. But I love your story because you have all the elements in it. You have deep love and affection with your family. You had deep love and affection with your church, and you were able to continue to love yourself enough, even though you tried and tried to, do everything for all people. But by the end of the day, we have to make sure that our vessel is purely authentic and loving to ourselves so that we can extend that to others. And you were able to successfully do that. And
yep.
I'm so happy for you, and I'm so happy that we've connected and we've met and that I was able to honor your story.
Well, and I just appreciate having this venue, being able to, discuss these types of things. These are important, and it's important to
Yes.
our community. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I have great, great appreciation for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, and don't leave because I want to talk to you some more.
Okay.
Just you and me. No, but thank you so much. And guys,
You betcha. Thank you so much.
you are welcome. Everybody, you know the drill. You can find everything you need to find about Jay on the website at empoweredmidge.podbean.com. Go over there and you can see not only a picture of Jay, so you'll know exactly who we talked to today, but you'll also be able to find links to his business and to him. And so go check that out at empoweredmidge.podbean.com. And remember that we have a Facebook group, Gay with God, where we do a monthly Zoom group entitled My Faith Journey. So if you need support and you want to just hang out with a few other people that will love you no matter what you're going through, you can join that group. Now, remember, we usually do this every month, but sometimes we have to change it. So if you join the group, make sure that you're checking out the web page every once in a while to make sure that the group is meeting that month. But we should be on for this month. So go over there, answer all the questions so that you can join that group. And the reason I ask you to answer all the questions is that, we need to protect ourselves, and we need to make sure that the people in the group are going to hold of all of us in safety. And so when you answer all those questions, I'll know that you're going to be safe for us to have you join the group. So answer all the questions. Um, Remember that if you're listening to this podcast and are questioning whether you can be gay and be in a relationship with the God of your understanding, if you identify as LGBTQIA+, or you might not even be sure that you're gay, but God has always been within you, even when you didn't know it. You have always been gay with God. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned to see how you can join the Gay with God community. And as always, you are loved. I want to invite you to become a part of the Gay with God community. How can you do that? Stay connected by messaging me your thoughts and comments in the comment section under the downloads of the show on the Gay with God show page. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen and share so we can increase our community outreach and be a light to those who are struggling to claim their faith. Consider being a sponsor so I can highlight your service in our community. We are all worthy of respect and a relationship with the God of our understanding. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this podcast. Together, we as a community will keep this show visible and our community stronger. Deep gratitude to my friend Tim McClendon of Tim McClendon Music for allowing me to use an excerpt from Interlude 4, a song found on his CD entitled Sundance.